The circumstances surrounding this incident are sufficiently grave and unusual to warrant independent scrutiny beyond our domestic institutions. I therefore, with a full sense of responsibility as the Executive Governor of Oyo State, call on the appropriate international human rights and accountability mechanism, including those within the United Nations system, to closely examine the facts surrounding this abduction and the circumstances of its resolution. Such scrutiny is not intended to undermine our institutions. Rather, it is intended to reinforce public confidence that the truth will be established and that every person found to bear responsibility, regardless of office, influence, or affiliation, will be held accountable. Under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the primary responsibility for national security rests with the federal government and the security agencies under its command. The Nigerian people, therefore, deserve a full and transparent account
guys,
of what happened.
I've watched this
Who
statement
was
more than
responsible?
once. Usually I do anyway. And I just have one question. The question is, what does Governor Seyi Makinde know that the rest of us do not know? Because according to what we were told, this was supposed to be a success story. The children and the teachers have been rescued after 56 days in captivity. Because according to the presidency, they describe it as a successful military operation. So we're told security forces rescued them. We're told that the militants were arrested. We're told that some of the attackers were killed. And most importantly, the official position of the Nigerian state is that no ransom was paid. So ordinarily, this should be the point where everybody were expected to close the chapter. But for the state governor, Seyi Makinde, he came out to say the chapter is not closed. And this called for concern because setting up cameras and using specific words, the state governor, Seyi Makinde, described the circumstances surrounding the incident as grave and unusual. He then went further to say the situation required independent scrutiny beyond our domestic institutions. That is not just a light statement. So I would like for you to hold that thought. But now, as expected, the presidency has responded. The presidency has faulted Makinde's request. The presidency say it is unnecessary. The presidency went ahead to say it is politically motivated. But this is where I have a little bit of concern with this statement because the response is created to ask another question. Now, the presidency is claiming Governor Makinde call for independent investigation is political. But excuse me, what is more political than an APC gubernatorial candidate in Oyo State presenting a car to the rescued principal barely 48 hours after a return from a 56 days captivity? I am asking this question, was the car already bought in preparation for her coming? At what point did this person, the gubernatorial candidate, know these people are coming out? I'm asking this question because this is exactly why investigation matters. Because if anything is beginning to look political here, it is the speed at which attention appears to be moving from exactly what happened to ceremonies, gifts, celebration, buying cars, But Makinde is requesting the United Nations to investigate the circumstances of the adoption and its resolution. So if anything speaks politics, it is not necessarily the demand for scrutiny. It is the urgency to dismiss the demand for scrutiny by a state governor, even before we try to understand what the governor describes as grave and unusual. So why are we more interested in politics of the person asking this question than the substance of the question itself? Because Makinde did not simply say, investigate insecurity in Nigeria. He is specific. What happened during those 56 days? It's a straightforward security operation question. Is that not what transparency is all about? Nobody's going to sit down here and manufacture a conspiracy where there are no evidence. But the fact is that the press conference feels unusual. The governor's demeanor, the choice of words should not be dismissed casually because something is not sitting properly. And since the presidency is now claiming politics, now my question still returns to the gift. What exactly was the relationship between the giver and the receiver that made such an expensive gift so urgent, knowing that this entire case was already sitting under a cloud of unanswered questions? Because when a story is surrounded by suspicion, every generosity must understand the burden of timing. And as the old saying goes, when a man from the inside calls somebody from the outside to check the cracks on his wall from the inside, it means that the crack did not happen from the outside. It is a truth at a time. Take care and have a nice day.